Good evening, everybody, and welcome here to the first race of the 50th season of the RTG Talladega Challenge. We are here at the Talladega Superspeedway for 66 laps of racing in the season opener. I'm Seth Cole, being joined alongside of James Qualls. And James, it's a series where they are at Talladega every single week, but it's a clean slate. Everyone's got a chance to battle for the championship here and can make their first step towards it with a win here tonight.
No question about it. And all these guys we got in this field here today, I would imagine, like you said, it's a crapshoot. Anytime you go to Talladega, it's always a crapshoot. Same thing with Daytona. And as field rolls off into turn number one on their pace lap, and I say as far as who I think wins this race, though, I think really you pick them here as well. Look at it. You got a lot of people here who's very experienced on online racing. Of course, then again, why wouldn't they be there if they aren't? But still, I look for a really exciting race here today.
And maybe history will repeat itself, because last year in the season opener, our pole sitter, Brian Schilling, started on the pole, and he went on to win the race. And with a field as big as we have here tonight, I don't know how big the field was last season, but my goodness, that's quite a feat to be able to go coast to coast at a super speedway.
It really is, considering, of course, how much you consider the drafting, the dicing around that we have so often on these tracks, for position or for the lead battling and whatever. So, if he can pull off today, it would be very impressive. But I really don't count on it happening, because it's going to be really competitive here today.
And of course, whenever we go to super speedway, doesn't matter if it's Talladega, Daytona, wherever, there's always the chance of the dreaded big one. In order to finish first in this race, you got to first finish. It's 66 laps. So do we see them pace themselves early on here, or do they have to kind of get that adrenaline rush, race double wide and three wide to start out with, and then kind of calm down once we get our first caution?
66 laps, it don't sound like much on other tracks, though, but Talladega, it's a long way. So I think what I suggest probably them doing is maybe feel each other out, though, in the first few laps of this race. So once you get to about halfway on down, though, it's going to be any man or woman for themselves.
Well, it is going to be Brian Schilling and Joe DeSpirito, your front row here, as we are ready to get the season opener for season 50 of the RTG Talladega Challenge. Green flag, and we're underway. See there, Schilling's going to jump up to the high side and try and pull that 24 car along. Was talking to some of the drivers here prior to the start of this race. A lot of them said that middle groove is going to be the lane that moves.
Which is very surprising, too, because you would think the low side would be obviously the way to go, though. But yeah, there's Schilling trying the middle groove. There's the Spirito is right there behind him in his bunch here, and pushing him along there. And you got Shelton back there too in the 94. They're about to complete the first lap of this race here, and Schilling looks like he's going to lead the first lap, obviously.
Yes, he is. He's going to lead the first lap. As you mentioned, DeSpirito, Shelton lined up there as well. Behind them in fourth place is where you got Bernie Mobbs. Fifth place right now, Jeremy Jeffries. But we drop back here, and this is where all the fun's going on. They were double wide, three wide there for a moment. I believe that was the 77 caught in the middle, and now it's the 39 of Josh Metallic. He was leading the inside line, but now it's the 28 of Mark Paglia that's leading that inside line. And we'll have to see, because, mentioned that these drivers, a lot of them said the middle groove works, but I would think if you get enough drivers down there, the inside line can make some forward progress.
They're trying to do that right now, though, as well, too. From the looks of it, down the inside, you don't have much of a train back there, too, from out behind the 28, but like you said, you can't say they're not trying, though.
That's the 143 of Bob Dixon trying to help there with Josh Metallic. Up on the top side right now of that double wide is the 95. That's John Fergoni. And he's getting some drafting help there. I believe that is the 22 machine. No, I'm sorry, that's the 62 rather of Ronald Lucier. As we move back up here just a little bit here to the front.
Oh,
Yikes! Oh, we got a wreck. At least 2 cars involved. Jim Gould in the 72. And then, oh, we got more drivers there. We had the 99 of Doug Woolley, and I believe that's the 57 of Stefan Martel. And that didn't take long.
No, it don't.
Lap 3, our first caution. As Schilling going to pick up the pace car here. Now, I found out that the fuel window for these drivers is anywhere between 18 to 20 laps, which technically would put us about a 2-stopper in this race, maybe even a 3-stopper, but now, with this early caution coming out, they may be able to make it on 2 pit stops if everyone comes to pit road this time.
That's quite a possibility here. I'm looking at some damaged up cars there. 99's all caved in on the side. There, Doug Woolley's car, and caved up on the passenger side, I should say, though, and also a bit of a 57's got a bit of a hood buckle on the car, and caved in on the driver's side too.
Now, I think this all started with the 72 car going into turn 4, I think it was. And
it was in 3 and 4, yes.
And it was the 99 you mentioned, Doug Woolley, that was behind him. We'll take a look and see what happens here. Oh, they checked up in front of him big time. I can't tell who that was, but there were like 3 cars ahead of the 72. Someone got way out of the throttle. They started stacking up, and it was a chain reaction that sends the 72 around. There you see Martel in the 57 and Woolley in the 99, and Woolley definitely got the worst out of all of that. A lot of rear end damage on that machine, and a lot of times with Talladega being so aerodynamically dependent, you cannot afford to have damage like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at my end on the replay there. It looked like the 08, yeah, 08 was drifting, was bumping along with almost bumping the 62 car, and then he got tapped by the 12, and it sent the 08 down, and then got him back up. Track though, and that's probably why both of them checked up, and then I think the 6 car went around, and then that started the accordion effect there, and then that's where the 72, the 99, and a few of the others, as you mentioned, they crashed up behind there. So
it looks like we had some drivers that may be thinking they can stretch it to just a 2-stop strategy that came to pit road, but quite a number of our top 5 decided to stay out. So Brian Schilling will still be the race leader when we go back green, with Jeremy Jeffries now the 2nd place car. Richard Martin will line up in 3rd, Donnie Garrett in 4th. 5th is going to be the 56 of Crivello. And I believe it's the 95 of Fergoin, 17 of Chuck McClure, Tim Knopsker in the 88, David Lawson in the 18, and Dave Melson in the 13. That would be your top 10 when we go back green. So, I mentioned maybe get the early race jitters out here. They were racing double wide from about maybe 10th position on back. They got 3 wide a couple of times. Now might be the time. The adrenaline rush has taken place. They've gotten an opportunity here under pacing to calm down a bit. Now we may end up seeing a long green flag run, because I remember back when we covered the All-Star race and the All-Star Open, we ended up seeing, maybe an early caution, but after that, things really settled out and we started to really see green flag pit stops come into play.
Saw 300 cars coming in for a pit stop here in this early in this race too. There, Dave Nelson's in the pits there, the 13 car. He's got some. I mean, it looks almost like he's got some damage on the car too. And also, I think I saw Shelton coming in too. Yep, there she is. She's in the pits as well. So like you said, a little bit of pit strategy happening here.
And Melson's taking some tires there. And sometimes, usually, running at the back at a super speedway isn't such a terrible thing, as long as you're able to stay in the draft. Because when you're at the rear of the field, you have the opportunity, if a wreck takes place in front of you, to be able to pick a lane and avoid. Usually, if you're in the middle of the field, you're right in the hornet's nest.
Yeah, that's what I usually do. Is usually try to stay in the back of the pack and just kind of counting on something big happening, over the course of the race and everything. Because I mean, it's going to happen. It's just a question of when. And of course, as we saw with the wreck happening on the third lap, it sometimes don't take long.
No, it does not. Well, Talladega Superspeedway, a 2.66 mile speedway, and I mean this track is obviously very historical. This track, every time that drivers come to it, they always have a little bit of a sense of dread. But a lot of them always want to win here as well. I mean, a lot of drivers kind of have this track on their bucket list of wanting to say, I was able to conquer Talladega Superspeedway.
Oh yeah.
Still waiting here as the pace car still hasn't given us the 1 to green. It'll probably give us the 1 to green this time. So I'm noticing with these guys staying out here, it's hard to tell, but they might be taking the opportunity to clutch. And here's some of these guys at the front that are now coming to pit road. So I think every time that we tick off another lap, some of these guys are realizing we're 1 lap closer to being able to make it on 2 pit stops. And you have Crivello in the 56, and I believe that is the... Let's see which car that is also that came
7
in.
cars in, and so is the so is the 08. Glenn Harris is in.
These guys all here, I think they're all expecting. There's Burgoyne as well.
95's in, yeah.
I think they're all planning that at this point in time, they can probably make it on 2 pit stops, whereas everybody up here that has not come to pit road at all under this pacing, they are going to probably be trying to save and see if they can make it on 2 stops. But I think their thought process is we have not seen our last caution. Everybody's probably going to have to pit at least twice anyway. And so I think that they're just wanting the track position over anything, which actually isn't a bad strategy, because if you keep yourself up there at the front, you got a better chance of the big one happening behind you.
Oh yeah. And I think it's all. I think we are getting the 1 to go. I think we have gotten the 1 to go. I think too. I think the lights are off on the pace car.
They are indeed. So we will go back green on lap 8 of 66. That'll give us a total of 59 laps to go in this one, if my calculations are correct. Nope, they are not correct. They will actually be 58 laps to go when we go back green. 1 lap off there. It will be Brian Schilling who'll get us back underway.
Actually, it'll be 7 down and 59 to go. Yeah. You're right the first time.
I got it right the first time. Wow, second guessing myself there. So it will be Schilling on the front row now with Jeremy Jeffries. Got to start on the outside of the front row. Brian DeSpirito actually faded back. I'm sorry, Joe DeSpirito, rather, in the 24. He faded back. Looks like he's going to be restarting in the 8th position. So we'll see if he can work his way back up to the front. As the field heads down towards the restart zone, Brian Schilling's going to get us back underway here at Talladega. And the flagman, a little late there with throwing the green. It is finally out, and we're back underway. And it looks like the 8 car got a little bit better of a jump there, but I don't think he's going to clear the 4 by the time they get over into turn 1.
No, he is not, though. Schilling pulls out ahead, though. He's got the help from the 43 car behind him, though. And the 99 car, probably is the only car out of the race with a piston failure.
A tough break there to start out the season for Doug Woolley, involved in our first caution so far here today. As Schilling now tucks down in line. That's in front of Richard Martin in the 43. He's getting some help as well from the 18 of David Lawson, but that outside line, they've got them all lined up, and Jeffries starting to forge ahead just a little bit with help from Donnie Garrett as well as the 17 of Chuck McClure.
Really like that Doritos Cool Ranch scheme he's got right there. And I think I'm hungry. No, thank you. I'm now suddenly hungry for some Cool Ranch Doritos now. But anyway, he does lead this lap though, by the way, too. The 77 of Garrett behind him.
That middle groove continues to be the way to go, and obviously, you almost wonder if the middle line's got so much momentum, what that third groove maybe could do, if anybody would be willing to venture up there. If we reference the All-Star race that we broadcasted a couple of weeks ago, we saw drivers, even in a two-car tandem, be able to jump up there and make that third groove work. So maybe we'll see that in the latter portions of this race as continuing to lead the way is Jeremy Jeffries, but we're going to drop back here. I mean, look at this 3 wide mid-pack, and they were almost 4 wide for a brief moment there. Car in the middle of all of this this point in time is Benoit Plord in the 87. He's going to back out of this as he was put in what we call the proverbial sucker hole.
They were getting a little bit wild back there, but I think they now gone back down to 2 wide here. 100 here, boy, talk about 197 mile an hour pace lap happening here at Talladega too.
Absolutely. Double wide. It's almost as if we are still underpacing, to your point, still side by side there. Is that Shelton jumping up to the top side, helping that's the 2 of Hank Middleton that's jumped up there with the 6 of Wiley Coate. And now you've got another driver up there, and we're seeing that third groove all of a sudden come in, and look at the momentum they're getting.
Meantime, 17, Chuck McClure going for the lead here on Jeremy Jeffries in the A car, and McClure is going to pull ahead. Yes, he is. He actually led that lap.
Yes, he did. So we're actually seeing that inside line get some momentum. And really, if you look at it, both lines have the same number of cars in them. So tremendous job there with that inside line, being able to hold off that middle groove.
He's got the help from the 088 of Tim Knopsker as they come down the backstretch here, and still 2 by 2 here in the outside lane. Coming up again there, Jeffries, he's not giving up.
They got to be careful, especially here in the corner. They obviously want to push the car in front of them, but they got to make sure they don't do it while in the turn, because if you don't get those bumpers lined up, you're going to send that car around. And usually in the corners at a super speedway, a lot of cars go up the track, a lot of cars go down the track. The track can get clogged very, very quickly, and still a dead even heat at the line there between Jeffries and McClure.
3 wide, about three or four rows deep back there too, from about maybe 9 spot on down.
Where you find, I believe that is the 712 of Bob Seminara, who is the defending champion of the series, and obviously he would love to get the new season started out with a victory and try and go for back-to-back championships. Right now, he's running just behind outside pole sitter Joe DeSpirito. And that outside groove, that third groove, they've got more friends now. There's about 8, 9 cars up there, and they are closing. They're up there now in a 3-wide battle for what would be the 8th position. We're looking at the 28 of Mark Paglia leading that group, and that Motorcraft Ford Mustang.
If they are coming, if they can get a few more guys up there, that we may see 3 wide racing all the way around this track here, obviously. But boy, this is my blood's pumping right now in this one. I don't know about you, Seth.
It's kind of that feeling you get, that queasy feeling in your stomach, the calm before the storm. You know that it's probably going to happen. You just don't know when.
Oh man, this is tight.
Like that middle line has opened up the momentum just a little bit there. Jeffries is going to be clear on McClure. Paglia continuing to try and get that third groove going. He's been able to get up alongside of a battle in that 4th row, trying to see if he can gain more momentum. I mean, obviously, this outside line may be losing a little bit in the corner, but they are gaining tremendous straightaway speed off of turn 2 and turn 4.
And see that 28 car. He's already up beside the looks like the 4th car in the line there in the 4th row, I should say, too. So yeah, it's like you said earlier. He's kind of nice up alongside the 77 of Donnie Garrett.
He is going to make it 3 wide for what would be the 3rd position. And you said it, Qualls. I think we're about to have them 3 wide all the way back through the field, maybe in this next lap.
I mean, this is like the start of the Indianapolis 500. 3 deep, about 3 wide. What's this now? About I think we're looking at 3 wide now, like 10 rows deep now. I think
at least 9, maybe 10. Yeah. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe that they are making this work. Now, give them credit. There's about half a car length of space between each one of these lines, so they are giving each other enough room in case someone needs to gather it back up. But I don't see, even if there is some contact, how we can get away without a wreck. As that inside line again getting some great momentum. I'll tell you what, the 088 of Tim Knopsker, he's giving some great pushes to the 17 of McClure. I really expected when we saw that middle line start to gain the advantage again that inside line was going to be gone, but they've battled back.
Yeah, but Jeffrey's not, like I said, Jeffrey says not giving up. Oh my God, he's going to lead this lap between the 17 and the 8, though. It's McClure again. I think he led by about a foot.
Yes, he did. Barely led it. Maybe by about a splitter there. Maybe a little bit of advantage of that Chevy Camaro splitter against the Ford Mustang splitter. Who knows? And that third groove, all of a sudden that third groove has started to fade. I don't know if they lost some numbers or if they just lost momentum, but they were up as high as the second row 3 wide. They've now fallen back to about the 4th or 5th row, but they're trying to bounce back up. I saw about maybe another 9, 10 cars still in that line, but they're not quite making the progress they did before.
No, they're not though. And I think if I were behind some of these guys in the back of the pack, I'd be backing off about a few more car lengths though in case something were to happen.
I believe we went back green on lap 8. So with now going on to lap 17, I mean, we got to start. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you saw, but it almost looked like the 17 may have gotten his left sides down the apron there for a moment.
He might have.
But I'm not certain if these guys will keep it together, but we got to start thinking not only about a possible caution, but we also got to start thinking about possible green flag pit stops. Fuel window is about 18 to 20 laps, and with us going back green on lap 8, we're looking somewhere between laps 26 to 28 for these drivers to come to pit road, so we're closing in on about 10 laps before we'd have a round of green flag pit stops.
That is only for those who didn't pit, though. Now, you remember, we saw about maybe almost half the field pit during the last during the only caution flag we've had so far. So some of them can go about a few laps further.
And obviously, as well, if they saved some fuel after making that pit stop, they probably might be able to go even further than that, maybe another lap or two. You got to wonder, I mean, is there anybody back here at the tail end with all this going on that might be saving? I'm noticing back there, just barely in the draft, is that 41 of Andrew All. I mean, he's close enough that he can still get a sniff of draft, but he might also be able to kind of draft up to the field, clutch a little bit, save a little bit of fuel, and then drop back a little bit, get the draft again, and just continue that process. Because with them racing double wide and 3 wide ahead of him, there's really little chance of him losing the draft right now.
Yeah, but then again, he might be in the best spot, though, because, I mean, if something happens, he may not be in it.
Absolutely. I want to apologize real quick, folks, too. We did have a live ticker that we were going to do here, and apparently we're having a little bit of issues with it, so we're showing you the lap counter, but unfortunately we don't have the live ticker for everybody, so apologies for that. Hopefully next time we will have that fixed. As we saw there, the 72 had lost the draft. That was Jim Gould, who was involved in our first caution back in turn 4 on lap 3. So he's hoping right now to just ride and log laps. If something happens to any of these guys up in front of him, then what he's thinking of is all the positions he can pick up are points.
Exactly, and it's not too soon to start thinking about it neither. Oh my God, who led that lap?
I think it might very well have been, it was the 8. Jeffries, they said, led that one.
Yeah, margin, we got the margin of the line. It was 0.005 of a second between those two at the line.
Imagine if that was the finish, and it very well may be. I mean, Talladega is known for photo finishes, basically because the start-finish line is not where it is at Daytona. Daytona, it's the middle of the tri-oval, but down here at Talladega, it's in between the tri-oval and the entrance to turn 1. So that extra, what is it, like 300 feet is a huge difference maker into who's going to win and who's going to finish second.
Every bit of that, too. Now that 8's starting to fall back a little bit, as you see McClure pulling ahead, though, with Knox for second there, and now 4-car of Brian Schilling coming back through. He's back at the 3rd spot now as he and So I think they're starting to. I think they're starting to thin themselves out a little bit now.
Saw there, I think that was the 8 of Jeffries tucked down to the inside line in the 5th position, as we're now starting to see that inside line actually starting to gain, which really surprises me because you and I have both, driven cars at Talladega, and a lot of times, ooh, wait a minute, we got pit stops here? We do. This is
Yes,
awfully
we
early.
do.
McClure is in. Schilling is in. Novsker is in. Jeffries hits pit road as well. I mean, this is a little bit earlier than what we projected. David Lawson, Richard Martin is in as well, and also Andrew Allen, the 41. The only thing I can assume is that maybe this is the first of their 2 pit stops. I mean, we're on lap 22. We know they can go 20 laps, so they might be basically figuring here one more stop till the end of this race.
Well, if they can make it that far on 2 stops, though, because I mean, if they're pitting like every 20 laps, obviously they're going to be about 6 laps short.
Grant Wesley's going to take the lead. Looks like the 77 just waved his hand out the window. Donnie Garrett, he's coming to pit road this time. So Wesley moves to the lead. Bernie Mobbs into second. Joe DeSpirito now third. And the defending champion, Bob Seminara, is now in the 4th position. Mark Paglia, who we saw leading that 3rd groove when that 3-wide racing was going on, is now in the 4th position as Garrett came to pit road by himself. I was looking to see if he had any friends when he came to hit the pit lane. Nope, 77 all by his lonesome, and at a super speedway, that is not good.
Well, and gotta like that throwback paint scheme on the 88 car, Grant Wesley out there leading the race. So back to the die guard cars of guys like Bobby Allison, Darrell Waltrip, all those guys who used to race for them.
And they're starting to catch up to that group that came to pit road about 2 laps ago. They get put a lap down, then they obviously have to hope that this entire green flag pit stop cycle completely cycles out. Otherwise, they would find themselves a lap down if a caution comes out. We know that the first 2 cars 1 lap down would be the free pass cars, so these guys that are up ahead of the race leader, they'd be battling more for the lucky dog position than they would be for the race lead.
And I'm looking at the 77 of Donnie Garrett, and you're right though. He's barely. I don't know if he's close enough to behind where he can snip the drive of the 43 car. Not behind. No, he's falling back a little bit. And make matters even worse, he's about to get lapped here by the pack.
Yes, he is. He's going to fall into the clutches of these guys. And if I recall correctly, when Garrett was leading after we had about those 6 cars hit pit road, Grant Wesley and company, they jumped to the outside of the 77 and blew on by him. So he lost a lot of momentum there. Obviously, he came to pit road with nobody, and he now is running -1 to the race leader, Grant Wesley. So those guys that came to pit road, I think might have been some of those guys that stayed out and didn't pit at all under the only caution we've had today. So that might be why they hit pit road as soon as they did. So projected, these guys here, we're going to probably see them on pit road somewhere in the next 6 to 8 laps. And I believe the 88 is coming to pit road this time.
And several other cars too. 28's in, the 39, I should say, the 6, the 2. Yeah, a load of cars coming in.
A lot of drivers slamming on the brakes there. You see a lot of tire smoke. Oh, we got a wreck on pit road.
That's the 2 of Cy Jones is about to come up and hit the 2 car of Hank Middleton. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, it was Perry Bond that got into him. Obviously, no caution since it was on pit road. At least I'm assuming there was no caution. Let's check and see. Nope, no yellow. We are still green, so that's going to lose those guys a lot of time on pit road. I would also question the damage sustained on the front of Perry Bond's number 60.
Wesley coming out first there, then Pagila coming out, Metallic. Cote is coming out there, Ricci, Shelton.
And here comes everybody else, led by the 90 of Bernie Mobbs. Joe DeSpirito is in. Seminara is in as well. Andrew Mongion is in, or Andre Mongion, sorry. About maybe 10, 12 cars came to pit road this time, and so that is going to cycle the race lead over. to, I believe... Whoa, we got a wreck! Oh, we got a wreck! It was the race leader in the 56. He just got spun by the 72 car. Caution is out right in the middle of green flag pit stops. That's Crivello. I don't know what just happened. We were going back to find out who had inherited the lead. Next thing we see, he spun out on the back straightaway.
I was watching pit stops when it all happened. I'm gonna have to go back and find out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the back straightaway there. Crivello had taken the race lead. He was trying, I guess, to go around the 72 of Jim Gould, who was off the pace, and I don't know what happened. We're going to go back and see if we can find out what happened there, but this was right in the middle of pit stops, and so a lot of drivers that were a lap down at the time may still find themselves a lap down unless they're able to take a wave around.
I'm already on the wreck itself. I just kind of rewound back. Oh my god!
See, it did not actually start with the 56. It
Nope,
actually, yeah, it was the 28. Mark Paglia. Oh, I think he blew up.
That's what it looked like to me, because I mean the 39 car was behind him though, and he wasn't even close to and it looked like he was close to tap him though, but he didn't. So I mean,
we're gonna watch carefully here. I think we're gonna see black smoke come out from underneath the 28 right there. I don't know if he downshifted or what, but all of a sudden that car bogged down. Black smoke from under the hood, and as he comes back down the track, looks like the 72 moved low to avoid him, and then he got into the 56 of Crivello, and that is why the caution came out. So the caution would have obviously come out anyway for the 28 facing the wrong way on the back straightaway, but Crivello, an innocent bystander, getting caught up there in a follow-up wreck when Gould was trying to avoid him.
And also the 95 car of Fragoni had spun and got into the inside wall too, but he continues on.
Now, I don't know, because he got involved in the wreck, if Jim Gould would be eligible for the free pass, but I believe that Perry Bond in the 60 would actually be one of the drivers that would get a lucky dog. Also a lap down right now is the 41 of Andrew All. And I believe this is all going to cycle the race lead over to the 24 of Joe DeSpirito, who started this race from the outside of the front row, kind of faded back a little bit.
And Dave Little just spun on pit road too. And right in front of the 6 car of Wiley Cody too.
There's the 083 of Dave Little as he pulls into his pit stall. First time we mentioned him here today. Is DeSpirito is going to be the race leader. It looks like when we go back green, he's going to have Bernie Mobbs to his outside. I believe these were the drivers that came to pit road in the 3rd group during the cycle of pit stops. So we obviously see that the bigger group was the one that produced the most speed and gained the most track position. Andre Mangian is going to line up in 3rd. 4th is going to be Terry Bombard. 26 of Elisor will be lined up in 5th. 6th is going to be Ronald Lucier. 7th, Joe Wewer. 8th is going to be Dave Melson. 9th place will be Bob Dixon. And completing the top 10, I believe, is going to be Bob Seminara. We'll go a little bit further through the field here. It might shuffle up a little bit, too, based on some drivers maybe coming to pit road again. But 11th is going to be Benoit Plord. 12th is Mike Rogers. 13th is Alan Martin, and he's actually going to come to pit road, so that's going to change up the top 15. But Wayne Pribnow and Frank Rivard would have been the top 15 had we not had a couple of drivers hitting pit lane from the mid-pack area. We'll actually wait here until Rivard crosses the line, and then we'll show you the rest of the lineup from 13th on back in just a moment here.
Had about 4 or 5 more cars coming in too.
Gonna be going back green here, somewhere close to the vicinity of halfway, working our second caution of the evening. The two cautions we've had so far, though, the first one really only involved about 3 machines, and then this one, the second one, only involved about 3 machines. But we know when we start getting down closer to the end of the race, that's when we're going to start to see more cars involved in wrecks.
Exactly, because I always said that when you get down to the last 5, 10 laps of Talladega, it's any man or woman for themselves.
The
You know,
Rivard, when. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
you're okay.
So Rivard crossed the line in the 13th position, so let's go a little bit further through the field now. 14th is going to be Crivello. Don't know how much damage he sustained to the front of that car when he nosed it into the outside wall, but he was the leader when the caution came out. So he'll line up in 14th with Forgoing in 15th. 16th going to be Nofsker. 17th, Brian Schilling. 18th will be Glenn Harris. 19th, Grant Wesley. And completing your top 20 is going to be Dante Risi. Josh Metallic lines up 21st. 22nd is Jessica Shelton. 23rd, Donnie Garrett. 24th, Dave Little. 25th will be Alan Martin. 25th will be Alan Martin. 26th, Richard Martin. 27th, Hank Middleton. 28th is where we'll find Jeremy Jeffries. 29th, Dave Lawson. 30th is Wiley Coate. 31st is Chuck McClure. 32nd, Wayne Pribnow. 33rd is Perry Bond. And 34th is Stefan Markle. Andrew All going to go around. I believe he was one of the recipients of the free pass, and I believe the 72 also of Plowed was one of the free pass machines also. So it looks like we could have 37 cars back on the lead lap here. You see both the 72 and the 41 now pulling up alongside the pace cars. So when the lights go out atop the pace car, they will go around and get their lap. We do, I believe, have some drivers out of the race, however.
And 28 cars also falling out of the race because of that crash on the last caution flag too. So
Mark Paglia is out.
So 2 cars now out of the race.
Doug Woolley out due to crash damage. I'm pretty sure we can safely assume that it is a mechanical failure that really took the 28 of Paglia out. After it almost looked like he downshifted coming off of pit road.
Yeah, that in combination with a crash on the 99 car, and the 99 car, as I said, though, out of the. It's marked as piston, but in all intents and purposes, it's really an engine failure, really, on the 99 car.
Well, let's find out, what the issue was for Mark Paglia, because we know he had a fast car. He was leading that third lane. We're going to actually see if we can get a word with him and just find out what was going on there in the cockpit, because it looked like a downshift potentially to me, but then again, there could be something where, based off the grill tape, these cars could have been running or something. Maybe the engine let go with an overheating problem. We'll have to wait and see here.
That's the thing a lot of people don't know about drafting, or they lose sight of, it's and you and I both know this, from having experienced a few of the little leagues of offline racing, so to speak. But you get so caught up in racing the other person, you don't realize the draft really heats up temperature in the engine, obviously on the radiator. In other words, and before you know it, you're just about darn near overheating, and your day's going to be long, obviously.
That could be a big reason why we're seeing drivers able to get such big runs there. Obviously that third lane got some great momentum. Sometimes the higher you run the grill tape, the better opportunity you have to be able to make a lane move, and these drivers maybe have to kind of keep an eye on their water temps, make sure that that nothing overheats, and that they take care of their equipment. We were going to try to get a word with Mark Paglia, but we have been notified that he is not available for an interview, so we can only assume of what the incident was, but I think he probably downshifted. A lot of times that has happened to drivers where they're coming off of pit road, they try and get ready to shift up, and they just miss the shift, and the engine goes. But it's going to be Joe DeSpirito that gets us back underway. Green flag back in the air as we are nearing halfway at Talladega.
It often proves you can't presume anything a lot of times until you get the whole story.
Spirito going to move up to the middle line. We've seen that happen here on these last couple of restarts, but the inside line trying to get some momentum. That's Andre Manguian trying to get something going. He's got Elliser right behind him in the 26. but they got to get more numbers down there. There's only about 5 of them down there against about maybe 12 cars up in that middle groove.
And you see proof right there that 24 car leads a faster group of cars. Obviously, as the 10 or not 10 car, but the 90 car Bernie Mob's now at the second place, or trying to take second, I should say.
Mob's going to stay in line for the moment. Joe DeSpirito last season finished 5 points out of the championship, third in the standings. Obviously laid down a good qualifying lap here today. Started this race from the outside of the front row and trying to finish one position better. Lined up in third right now. That's where you find the 10 of Terry Bombard, and this is the first time we've really talked about him today, and that's the beauty of Talladega too, is you have all these drivers you talk about in the first half of the race, then you get to the second half of the race and you're like, where did this guy come from? It's very easy if you pick the right lines and the right drafting partners to work your way from the back to the front.
Exactly right, and Terry Bombard doing a great job running a smart race so far here today, obviously.
Ron Lucier right behind him. That's another name we haven't talked much about today. And then Dave Melson in that Geico Chevrolet right behind him in fifth. And then there is the defending champion there. I know that obviously we know that when you win a championship and you come in the following season, there's that little bit of pressure. But how much more pressure do you think it is to try and defend a championship in a wild card race type season where every race is at Talladega?
It's a lot of pressure, obviously, because I mean, you want to try to prove it. You want to try to do it again, prove that first one is not a fluke, especially if it's your first one.
Sorry to cut you off. We were 4 wide for a brief moment there. That was close. I don't know how they made that work, but somehow they did going into turn 3.
And you got a train on the high side of the cars, about maybe 5 cars on the high side there. The 5 car, Alan Martin leading that bunch right there, and they might be trying to get that high line going as we talked about near the first of this race.
Alan Martin and Richard Martin. Don't know if there's a little relation there, but if there is, or maybe just the association of last name, they're going to work together. They've got, I believe that is the 00 of Wayne Pribnow up there. And don't forget, Pribnow restarted outside of the top 20. He's now up into the top 15, making forward progress with that third groove.
In the 08 car, Glenn Harris, he just about cut up in front of that 5 car, but thought better of it too. Now the 088 car of I can get it to him, Tim Nosker. He's now going to lead this pack of cars on the outside too.
Saw Tim Nosker up at the front early on in this race. He was the guy that was making the inside line work with Chuck McClure. Now he's up there on the third groove trying to lead that train. I also noticed, I don't know if he had trouble or if he faded back on purpose, but our pole sitter, the 4 of Brian Schilling, ducked down to the apron on the back straightaway and drifted back to the tail end of this lead group. So I don't know if that was by choice or if there was some contact that sent him back there, but obviously right now he's got some work to do as he's back just about outside of the top 20 right now, maybe about the 21st, 22nd position.
He's still in the pack of cars though, but now trying to work his way back into the field as he's now leading the 18 car of David Lawson there in 39 down. Now that's below down behind the 39 car of Josh Metallic.
Top 5 drivers have gotten themselves, actually making now top 6, have gotten themselves single file. The battle was going to be side by side for 7th. That's where you've got Tim Nosker on the outside. On the inside, Crivello in that Mopar machine, as obviously he was involved in our second caution, but apparently the damage sustained was not enough to keep him out of this race. And sometimes, you get a little bit of damage at a super speedway, but as long as you can stay in the draft, that car can still run. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with the 56.
Depends obviously on how bad the damage is, obviously, but he and 27 Andre Mongin, they were trying to break away from this pack of cars, but that outside lane though they're now coming on too. I think we may see another pace lap type of race, if you will. Maybe.
Very well could. They're 3 wide further back here. Whoa, they almost went 4 wide as Pribnow got a little out of shape there, and Grant Wesley thought about ducking to the inside, but thought better of it. McClure now goes behind Wesley and moves down to the middle groove, but they're 3 wide back here. That's where you've got pole sitter Schilling, Bob Dixon, Jessica Shelton, Josh Metallic in this group. Also, Jeremy Jeffries, who spent a good portion of the first half of this race at the front. He's now back here in traffic as well.
And at 17 is who he was battling with there for quite some time in that race, too. And we were talking about as well, too, with McClure.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know if you're noticing it. They looked a lot steadier when they were racing double wide and 3 wide early on this race. They are dancing around there in the middle of the pack now.
They sure are. And the four car didn't know which line he was going to go to, but he stuck behind that 143 car right there, back there of Dixon, and now trying to get something going on the inside lane now, and trying to see if they can make it a 3-wide race again.
They're going to stick McClure in the middle line. McClure's got nobody helping him. He's got cars low, cars high, but nobody in that middle line. And we were talking all race long about that middle line's the best place to be. Well, not for McClure at that point.
Now he finds himself a line right there behind the 39 and the 94 cars, both there of Metallic and Shelton, both. He ducks in between those two.
And here comes the 4 of Schilling. Wow, he got a little out of shape there through the center of 3 and 4. Almost drifted up into Bob Dixon. That was close.
Well, you know it was close. I thought he was going to get into Schilling and get into Dixon, I should say, too. And I thought they were going to have a little bit of a wreck here.
Keeps it together, though, as we remain green. And if my projections are correct, if we remain green for the remainder of this race, these drivers are looking at only one more green flag pit stop before the conclusion.
Maybe so.
Low car on the apron there. That's the 41 of Andrew All. Not sure what's wrong with him. I don't know if he just hit pit road perhaps and made a pit stop, but that car is obviously off the pace. He's just now getting it up to speed through 3 and 4. He had just gotten, I believe, the free pass under the last caution, unless he took a wave around. If he took the wave around, then drivers are not allowed to come to pit road under that pacing lap, that number of pacing laps. So he may have actually had to come to pit road for fuel had he taken a wave around.
Yeah, I'm seeing what's going on. He actually went to the inside lane to get to let the leaders by. That's why he went to the inside lane.
He backed off quite a bit. I don't know why he backed off that much. But they're getting racy at the front now. It was about 7-8 cars that were all single file. Now it's side by side from third place on back.
And if I were the 24 and the 90, I'd be getting ready right now.
3 wide further back. That's the Oscar Mayer Ford Mustang of Josh Metallic in the middle. He's got Lawson to his inside. There's David Little, who had that pit road incident. A little bit of contact on pit lane. Still on the lead lap, though, and about to crack the top 15. He's running behind the 77 of Donnie Garrett, who caught a big break when he came to pit road by himself and almost fell a lap down. That caution came out just before the leaders got to him, so he was able to stay on the lead lap. So a big break for Donnie Garrett, who right now is trying to close in the top 10.
I was getting ready to mention Donnie Garrett, though. What a comeback for him so far, isn't it?
Absolutely. And how about Brian Schilling? We talked about, working your way from the back to the front. Schilling was back outside the top 20. We saw him have a near moment over in 3 and 4. Now he's up to the 9th position.
Boy, this is some good racing, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and we're about to maybe have a battle for the lead. Terry Bombard has got some drafting help in that middle line. Dave Melson's with him. He's going to try and pull alongside of Bernie Mobbs for second, maybe alongside of Joe DeSpirito by the time they get down to turn 3.
Well, we've seen how fast that middle lane is so early in the race. So, and here he comes. Here comes Bombard. He's going to get the lead.
He picked up about maybe 3 car lengths on the back straightaway alone. He passed 2 cars and pulled out to a car length over the both of them by the time we got to the 3rd corner.
And no quicker than it took for the 2 of us to say it, too.
Exactly. So Bombard moves to the front. He's trying to see if he can bring the 13 along with him. Melson, who helped push him to the front. And then also that 712 car going to shift down to the inside line now. That's Seminara. I thought they were trying to help him clear, but now that he has, he wants to take the race lead for himself.
Got some good help with the 24 and the 90 both. Ooh, that was close up too.
We're looking up here right now at these guys at the front. I'm looking at a lot of former winners from last season. Brian Schilling took several wins last season. So did Bernie Mobbs. So did Joe DeSpirito. So a lot of these guys that have really proved that they can win at Talladega, they're up here when it counts. But how about Josh Metallic around the outside with help from, I believe that was the 088 of Tim Kofser. I mean, those guys, they were mid-pack about 2 laps ago.
And he just led his first lap, too. How about that orange 39?
Look at this. How about a little bit of a junior line here? Run right up against the wall, and it's obviously working as he's got Kofsker there. He's got McClure with him. Pribnow is up there as well. Also Glenn Harris, and they are making that outside line work.
That was also the Richard Petty line back in the day, too. Richard always liked to run the high side as well.
Now they migrate down to the middle groove, maybe down to the yellow line into 3 as the top 4 from that outside line get clear. Ooh, almost not quite. I thought Pribnow might go around off the nose of Seminara, but he just barely squeezed his way in there, as now Seminara is going to find himself back in 5th. And Joe DeSpirito's back here saying, what just happened? I was leading this race about 5 laps ago, and now he's back to 6th.
That's the nature of play racing. A driver can lead 1 lap and be back about 20th the next.
And the one thing I would wonder about is, how often do you want to be leading this race? Because we know we're going to be having at least one more trip to pit road for all of these drivers before this race is over. And you and I both know, when you're out in front, you're creating the draft for everybody else behind you. You're the one using up the most fuel. So obviously you want to be out there and lead laps, but do you really want to be out there and use up fuel?
It depends on how good on fuel you are, obviously, too. I mean, and everything else. It's if you're not good on fuel, I mean, I'm not stating the opposite. If you're not good on fuel, you don't want to be out front, and that's the case. So, but way they've been battling right there, and how we saw how the front pack works, as we saw with how the 39 took the lead and everything. It may not. I don't know if it's going to make any difference or not, though.
And I think that everybody noticed the run that Josh Metallic got on that outside line. They're going to put that in their memory bank for when we get down to the closing stages of this race. You may see several drivers jump up to that 3rd groove when we get down to 3 to go, maybe 2 to go. As we're looking back here, they've settled it out. Looks like now about back to 10th, 11th place. Oh, we got pits. Oh, no. That's Bernie Mobbs around in the 90 car. That may not bring out a caution. It will not. We are still green. Oh, my
gosh. Six car almost got turned over, too.
Oh, there's a lot of cars. 62, I believe, got a piece of it. Ronald Lucier, and is there a caution? I can't tell. Oh, we got another spinner. 27 of Mangion is around on the back straightaway, and he flips over. No caution, however. We're still green after all this on lap 48.
This year coming out of the pits too. I think he won that battle on pit road, and there's Novsker, Metallic, McClure, Middleton.
Oh, we got another car possibly spinning. That's Pribnow. He locked the brakes up a ton, kept it straight, however, as we got another 14, 15 cars on pit road this time. And we mentioned the fact this is possibly the last pit stop of the day. Maybe that's why we're seeing all these drivers spin out. They're trying to attack pit road as best they can because they realize this is the money stop.
Oh, yeah.
I think 3 cars are still yet to come to pit road. Crivello in the 56, who was the leader the last time we had a cycle of green flag pit stops.
Lucier coming back in.
Glenn Harris in 2nd, and Forgoing there in 3rd. And I believe, I believe that 62 car actually did not come to pit road the first time, and so he has to pit this time. As now on pit lane is Glenn Harris, so 2 drivers we're waiting on to complete the cycle of pit stops, the 65 of Crivello and the 95 of Forgoing. I'm shocked that we didn't have a caution, though, with all that stuff that went on.
I am, too. And don't you mean the 56 of Crivello?
Oh, yes. Yep. You got the 13 right behind him of Melson. Dave Melson right now would be the first car 1 lap down should we have a caution, but He will obviously get back on the lead lap when the 56 does hit pit road, which looks like he may do this time. Yes, here he comes. Let's see if the 95 follows him down. Yes, he does. Also pitting is the 87 of Benoit Plord, who I believe is a lap down right now.
Yes, he is. He was in 23rd coming in the pits.
And here comes the 90 of Bernie Mobbs. He's going to come back in as well. We're going to see who this lead cycles around to now. And I would assume, you mentioned about Novsker winning the battle off pit road of that first group. I think right now these four we're looking at, Novsker, Metallic, McClure, and Middleton. I think these are the guys that are going to cycle around as your race leaders.
And we'll see what it looks like on the start-finish line here between those four cars. And Novsker crossed by second.
Yeah, and he just passed the 56, who was the race leader. So he is now the new leader of this race as we are closing in the next 5.5 laps or so on 10 laps remaining. And you got yourself a 4-car tandem here all by themselves. It could be these four to settle this thing out.
Kind of amazing that Crivello held on to the lead to the start-finish line, though, before the 088 passed him, obviously. I will say that.
Well, Novsker was the one who pushed Metallic to the race lead back when they were making that third groove work. Now they're going to have to deal with slower traffic. That is the 87 of Benoit Plord letting the leaders by. They're about to catch some more drivers here. That's the 6 of Wiley Coate, the 72, who was a lap down of Jim Glued, and also the 57, who I believe was caught up in the first wreck of the day, Stefan Martel. They're all going to let these top four by.
72 is also caught up in the first wreck of the day as well, too.
So we'll see if we can now give you a rundown of who's running where. It's Tim Novsker, the leader, Josh Metallic second, third is going to be Chuck McClure, and right now in fourth is Hank Middleton. They're all by themselves. You got to drop back all the way here to fifth place. That's Grant Wesley. He's got Bob Seminara behind him in sixth. Seventh place is going to be Brian Schilling. Eighth is Donnie Garrett. Ninth place, Terry Bonbard. And Frank Rivard is currently in the 10th position. That's your group of six. Drop back to 11th. That's where you find Joe DeSpirito. He's leading an even bigger group. Behind him in 12th, you've got Richard Martin. 13th place, Dave Little. 14th is Alan Martin. 15th is Jeremy Jeffries. 16th is Ellisor. Glenn Harrison. 17th. 18th place is where we're going to find Joe Weber. And right now, back in 19th, after being one of the last cars to hit pit road, is Crivello in the 56. 20th place is David Lawson. 21st is Wayne Pribnow. 22nd, Dave Melson. 23rd is Fergoin. 24th is Jessica Shelton. 25th is Mike Rogers. And I believe that, nope, actually there are some more drivers on the lead lap. You got 26th, Ronald Lucier. 27th is Andre Margoin. I don't know how that car is still running after he grip flipped on the back straightaway.
Yeah.
Bob Dixon in 28th. 29th is Cy Jones. And 30th is Perry Bond. 31st is Dante Risi, and that is the last car on the lead lap. And you saw that group, they're only maybe about half a straightaway ahead of the race leaders.
Saw them going around Mike Rogers in the 11 car though. I don't know if he's now dropped back to the last on the lead lap now too.
Yep, that was all for position. That drops him back from 25th back to 28th. No, I'm sorry, 25th back to 31st. And now last car on the lead lap as he's entering through the center of 3 and 4. You see the race leaders. They're just now entering into turn 1. And they have picked up some more drafting help there. It looks like Martel has been able to latch onto this group, as well as the 72 of Gould and the 87 of Plord. So even though they're a lap down, you got a 7-car pack now. However, I'm looking at lap times. Race leader Tim Knopfster ran a 48.211. Grant Wesley, who's leading that second group, ran a 47.786, his fastest lap of the race. So that second group is coming in a hurry.
That's the fast lap, and that's and I see the top 7 fast laps are all 200 miles an hour, so they're cranking them up right now, buddy.
Grant Wesley trying to reel in that first lead group. He's bringing Seminara, Schilling, and others with him. And these guys are going to have a lot of momentum when they catch that lead group. They're going to have to go somewhere with it. And all this is brewing somewhere in the vicinity of about 10 and a half laps to go. It'll be 10 to go next time they hit the line. We know these drivers are good to go on fuel the rest of the way now. The only thing that really is going to kind of change up the plans here is if we end up having a late race yellow.
Exactly, and that last lap by Wesley, that's now his fast lap of 200.608 miles an hour.
Made their way around the 41 of Andrew All, who's currently off the lead lap. Grant Wesley leading that second group. But Josh Metallic and Novsker hit the line now. Grant Wesley hits the line now. That's probably only about, I would say, half a second difference between the fifth place car and the race leader. And even though this top four were able to pick up 3 more drivers to help draft with them, that numbers game is not equaling out for them. That second group is turning much better lap times, and I think they've only got 6 in their group.
And they got plenty of time to catch this group, the way that it's going right now, though, because I mean that fifth place car was 2.25 seconds behind the leader. Well, I'm looking at the interval right now, see if it continues to shrink or not.
I think that really to be in the draft of the pack in front of you, you only have to be anywhere from maybe 7 to 8 tenths. And they are closing in very quickly to the back of the 87 of Benoit Plord, who is off the lead lap, but tail end car of that lead group. So if they can get into his draft, they're going to close in even quicker than they are now.
And that five car gained another half a second. It's now 177 now between the first and fifth.
And Grant Wesley continuing to lay down really good lap times. I mean, he's out in front. And the last 4 laps, he has been faster each time. That time of 47.697. Compare that to race leader Novsker's 48.186. I mean, that's almost a full second difference.
And the lap speed that second pack's turn is now almost hitting 201 miles an hour too.
See right there, there's the first group, there's the second group, all in the same shot as they're coming down to 8 laps to go. Looks like we could have as many as 10 drivers to battle it out for the win if we do not have a yellow. I think we might have had a car, I don't know if he slowed up or what, but Frank Rivard all of a sudden lost touch with the back of Terry Bombard, and he may lose the draft. Gotta hope these guys get side by side. If these guys get side by side, he could probably catch back up.
And here comes 88 now. Here he comes.
Grant Wesley with a big run. He's going to pass all the lap machines. Now every car that's in front of him is for position. He's going to start with the 2 of Hank Middleton.
Oh, this is getting good now, buddy.
Jumps to the high side with help from Seminara. Schilling goes up there as well, as does Garrett. Those 4 cars all working well together and making some ground up on that top side.
You saw how well that worked early a couple times during this race.
See right there, McClure trying to move up, trying to crowd these guys, trying to not give them any momentum. Metallic tried to move up there as well, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop the momentum, as now it looks like Bombard is actually going to reel in this group as well, but I don't think Rivard is going to still be up in this lead pack. He's now back here with these 3 lap machines, so Frank Rivard, tough break for him as he was up there with that second group. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to be in the hunt for this win unless we get a caution.
Yeah, but let's remember too. Let's not give any of these guys the win just yet, though. Because some can have it all those guys and wrecked it, and somebody who didn't have a chance before, they're going to have it this time.
At this point in time, it looks like Novsker may be looking out the rearview mirror a lot more than he does out the windshield. Now, he does have Josh Metallic and Chuck McClure behind him. Both of those guys have been working with him the majority of this race, so more than likely they're communicating with each other as well. The guy they got to worry about is that white and green number 88 of Grant Wesley, because he's the one leading that second groove. He's now going to jump to the inside of the 77 of Garrett. That's the battle for 4th.
I tell you, you gotta get, like I said before, you gotta give a call to Donnie Garrett. She said he was almost a lap down after the first or second round of pit stops and everything, and now he's up to the 5th. There's a battling for the win.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the beauties about running into issues early at Talladega. As long as you don't tear the car up, there's a lot of time for recovery. as we are now inside of 5 laps to go. Tim Nofsker continues to show the way. Nofsker last season, talk about somebody who's looking for some redemption. We talked about Seminara came in the defending champion. Nofsker was the season runner-up, 3 points out of winning the championship. So you think this guy is looking for some redemption here, looking for some revenge? He'd love to start out the season here with a victory.
Oh, you bet he would. And so would Seminara too. When he gets up there too. I think you look to about maybe this point with 2 to go. I think it's where you start to see it all getting real right now, obviously. And it's actually, who am I kidding? It's already getting real right now.
And if you look up here in our top 10, actually these top 9 cars, 8 of them finished in the top 10 in points last season. So obviously they know how to get around Talladega. They know how to be consistent.
McClure to the low side now for second, and I think he might have it.
He's going to have Seminara right there with him, as well as Schilling as Nofsker moves down to block that momentum. That leaves Metallic up top side with no momentum, as Nofsker doing it all he can to keep everyone in his rearview mirror. He's driving the 088, but he better channel the Dale Jr. the Dale Jr. school of blocking here.
When you mean more like the Dale Earnhardt Sr. style of blocking,
that's actually better. That's actually a better idea. Yeah, why not? Nofsker gonna hit the line. It's gonna be 3 laps to go here at Talladega. The goal is to make it to the white flag. If they make it to the white, they're racing to the checkers. McClure moves up a lane there with Seminara, now tucks back in line. Grant Wesley was trying to make moves and was fading back. He's back up to 4th, and now he's got Schilling helping him.
I don't know about you, but my hands are sweating right now.
I'm wondering if they can make it back to the white flag, because they are not giving an inch. As now Wesley, big momentum, help from Schilling and Metallic up on that outside line. What is Nofsker going to do? Does he block McClure on the inside, Wesley on the outside, or can he do both?
As long as he don't get squeezed up into the wall, I think.
And I'm looking here. Oh no, Nofsker! And it's going to take out a number of drivers. Bombard, Rivard, as well as Metallic. And there's going to be oncoming traffic. Hopefully they can all get through it.
And a back-end wheel stem of that 10 car, I swear to goodness, it lasts about maybe 400 or 500 feet.
Caution is going to be out for the 3rd time here tonight. And it was right up at the front of the field. And that is going to have a lot of drivers breathing a sigh of relief, because they were way back out of the hunt for this win. All of a sudden, we're going to have about 20-25 cars back in the hunt for this win, I think.
And guess what? Grant Wesley is your leader.
Actually, no, you're right. I just realized this series does not run with overtime cautions. Race is over. Race is going to end under yellow. And to your point, Grant Wesley is the race leader, and thusly will be the winner of this race. He's going to take the white flag this next time around. We're going to have to go back and take a look and see what even happened here, because that was right up at the front of the field.
Oh, what a battle we were going to have for the win, too.
That was in the tri-oval there, and it started with the 088 of Tim Nofsker. I'm not sure who it was that got him in the back. It might have maybe been the 17 of McClure. Here it was again. And looks like, yep, right there. McClure gets him in the back. The 10 of Bombard goes up into Metallic, and a lot of hard licks taken right there. And that you see there, Despirito and Martin all able to get through it. I thought they were going to get involved. You mentioned about the 10 car going for a wild ride. Let's take a look and see what happened to him.
Yeah, I'm looking at the 10 car right now. I mean, he's up in the catch with him. The 39 car both went over simultaneously. The 88 car went way up in the air up to the catch. It's almost about like, yeah. And the 10 car, the back end. This is the first time I've ever seen a back end wheel stand in anything, any motorsports, NASCAR, drag racing, whatever. I mean, it's like, I swear to goodness, that back end. He had the back end up. And the front wheels were still on the ground. And I swear to goodness, he was like that for like maybe 400 or 500 feet at
Well, even
best.
before that, when the roof flaps went up, that car had all 4 wheels off the ground. It was floating backwards, but was not on the racing surface.
Oh my gosh, that is
Wow, I've never seen that before.
that is the most amazing thing the two of us have ever seen, for that fact.
Also involved in the wreck, I believe, was the 2 of Hank Middleton. But I believe Grant Wesley has received the white flag. We're going to jump back to live, as I believe he is going to be coming around this time, and he will be receiving the checkered flag. And we saw it when we looked at that wreck. I don't know if everybody was noticing, but it was very close between the side-by-side between Grant Wesley and Chuck McClure. And Wesley was just barely ahead, able to get around the spinning 088. And he's going to start off the season with a checkered flag. Wesley last year finished out in season standings 13th in points, but he will be finishing off week 1 of season 50, P1 in the standings heading into next week. Looks like the 17's coming to pit road. I believe he may have been the recipient of an EOL for causing that wreck in the tri-oval. So a tough break there for Chuck McClure, who was running up in the top 10 all day long. Spent a good portion of that last run up in the top 5. And Grant Wesley is going to come down to the start-finish line, and he's going to take the checkered flag for the first race of the season here at Talladega.
Great win by Grant Wesley. I mean, he made the move. At just the right time, I think. Obviously the right time. Considering what all happened there, but great win by the number 88 Gatorade team.
And Grant Wesley, let's not forget, after the cycle of pit stops, was running about 3 to 4 seconds behind the race leader, leading that second group. And that second group reeled in the top 4.
Yes, they were.
And Grant Wesley made a lot of moves, a lot of aggressive moves. Some of them paid off, some of them didn't, but as you stated, just timing. The timing of him making his move to the front and that caution coming out was really what gave it to him. I mean, we don't know if he would have been the leader coming back around there on that white flag lap or not. But we do know that because of the timing of that yellow, Grant Wesley is going to be the driver that is going to victory lane.
That's what Daytona and Talladega is all about, though. It's just when's the right time to make your move, and and not to mention too, the amount of cars he had helping him coming there to catch that pack of 4 cars there with about 5 to go. That was a big difference.
Take a look at the full finishing results from tonight's event, as the standings are now official, and Wesley burns it down here in the grass and now begins to do it at the start-finish line. So Wesley will win the race. Brian Schilling almost went 2 for 2 in back-to-back seasons, almost went pole to win, but he'll finish second. The defending champ Bob Seminara finishes third. Donnie Garrett brings it home in fourth. And Terry Bombard, despite being airborne, that car still kept going because he crossed the line in the 5th position and kept going. He's still going to finish in the 5th position. That is amazing.
How many people can say that?
I don't think very many. Hank Middleton's going to finish in 6th. Josh Metallic 7th. Tim Nofsker, even though he was the one that was spun out from the lead, he crossed the line, spun across the line in 8th. So he'll still get a top 10. Frank Rivard will finish 9th. Joe DeSpirito in 10th. Then the rest of the field, it was Richard Martin 11th, Dave Little 12th, Jeremy Jeffries 13th, 14th for Alan Martin, Glenn Harris in 15th. Ellisor will finish in 16th, Wooer in 17th. The rest of the top 20 were Lawson, Pribnow, and Dave Melson. A lot of these other drivers that you look on down from about 21st on down were all drivers that either got slowed up or were involved in incidents during that last round of green flag pit stop. Ron Lusur missed pit road, so he had to go back around. He finished 21st. Dante Risi finished 22nd. Jessica Shelton 23rd. I believe those two got slowed up by an incident coming to pit road. Mike Rogers, we saw him slow on the track at one point. He finishes 24th. Perry Bond had a pit road incident, finished 25th. Cy Jones in 26th. Andre Manguian, who we saw grip flip out of turn 2 on the back straightaway, finishes 27th. Bob Dixon in 28th. 29th was Chuck McClure with the EOL. He was the last car to finish on the lead lap, and then drivers that finished off the lead lap included 30th place Benoit Plourde, Stefan Martel, Burgoyne, Jim Glued, Wiley Coate, Bernie Mobbs, Andrew All, and then out of the race were the cars of Crivello, Paglia, and Woolley after 3 cautions during the course of this 66 lap race.
And an average
We're
speed
go-
of 155.219 as well too. Boy, this one's going to go down in the books too. Obviously, that was crazy stuff.
We're going to get our top 3 in here for post-race interviews in just a moment. And while we are working on that, we're going to step aside for just a moment for an intermission, and we'll be right back with your post-race interviews here from Talladega. And we have third place finisher Bob Seminara here. And I mean, Bob, first off, crazy action there with 2 to go. What did you see from your area?
Oh, that's exactly what it was. It was crazy. I mean, we did great to catch the leaders, and then we were all jockeying, trying to figure out where to go. It was great.
We saw obviously a lot of jostling for position there, even though there were 8 cars up in that lead pack. Did you have any plan formulated in your mind there with 2 to go, or were you kind of waiting to see what was there when you got to the white flag lap?
Yeah, it was pretty much. We had to wait and see where I was there. I was sitting third, made a good move to the bottom, and Chuck just got down in front of me, and yeah, it was hard. Positioning was great, and those guys got a good run on the outside of us.
You know, we talked about coming into this race. You came in the defending champion. We know it's obviously difficult coming into any season as the defending champion because you've set the bar high, you want to do it again the following season. But how much more difficult is it when it's a series that's comprised week after week of racing at a wild card track like Talladega?
Oh yeah, and with the competition, these guys here, I mean, it's so hard, it's so fun. I enjoy it, and yeah, I'm back to win again. So no, it's awesome.
Well, obviously, a great way to start out your season here. And we're now going to let you do some shout outs.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys, Flatout Racing. It's always good to have a TV race, man. This is great. Showcase us, and we had a good race tonight. RTG, David Cannon, Terry Bauman, and all the admins that put this on and keep it really tight and clean. And I'd like to thank Joey D and Bernie, Mobs Motors Inc. And yeah, we're looking forward to a good year.
Well, that's Bob Seminara trying to go for back-to-back championships. Starts it out pretty well here with a third place run at Talladega. Congrats.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll see if we can now get word with second place finisher Brian Schilling in the 4 machine. And we have him here. Brian, I mean, boy, we talked about last year, season opener, you went pole to win. Today you got the pole, you almost pulled it off. What little more did you need there to be able to edge those other guys there just before that caution came out?
I don't know what else I could have done. I was making any move possible to try to get around the guys, and at that point, I was just going to try to work with Grant on the last lap, see what happened. If I had a chance to make a move, great. If not, just stick behind him at least. So, congratulate him on the win for sure. It's good, good job by him.
We saw at one point in the race, you kind of faded to the back. We saw you down on the apron there on the back straightaway. Was that strategy of just kind of hanging back there because you didn't like what you saw up in front of you, or did something happen there that we may have missed off camera?
There was. I thought there was gonna be a wreck, so I reacted to that, and thankfully it didn't happen. And then just kind of started working my way up, and it was a little interesting. You guys probably noticed I had some frame rate issues in the middle of that pack, so wasn't exactly an enjoyable trip going back up.
Well, obviously, we talk about the fact that you've had really good numbers last season. You finished 8th in the point standings, and we saw you here today. I mean, we were noticing that you were back around maybe the 20th position. Then we look and you're up around 10th. Then we look and you're up in the top 5. I mean, based off of the way the setup was and the way that the drafting worked and everything, how was it so easy to be able to find a line to work your way back to the front?
Well, guys kind of have this idea that the middle and third line are the places to be at times, and they'll just abandon the low line. You get the right guys down there. You don't need a lot. You can make headway real quick, and that's what I ended up doing. And sometimes it works great. Other times everybody stays 3 wide, and you're just log jammed. So that worked out at that time. But next week it could be totally different.
Absolutely. I mean, talk about that. Just to kind of piggyback off of that. I mean, is there anything you're able to learn from a previous Talladega race that you can then apply to the following week? Or is it basically just making up the strategy as you go each and every week?
Uh, to a degree. I mean, it really depends on how the race plays out. I mean, I personally, a lot of times I like to short pit to keep away from the huge packs pitting. So it kind of just, I kind of call it with the flow of the race. So yeah, it's one of those you learn from previous races and just try to apply it to whatever or that race you're dealing with.
Well, a great start here to your season as you're looking to be a contender for the championship. And we're going to let you do some shout outs now.
All right. Congrats again to Grant on the win. I just want to thank the owners here, Terry Bowman, David Cannon, Sean Prime, on doing what they do here. I mean, they bring an awesome place for everybody to race. Uh, Jeremy, thank you for pushing me up through there. I know I'm forgetting some guys, but just thank you everybody that comes out and does this, and thank you guys for doing the broadcast here. It was really I had it going on my phone in the background. You guys did an awesome job.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, and thank you for putting on a great show for us. I mean, that was wild from start to finish. So that's Brian Schilling, brings it home P2 here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway in the season opener. Congrats, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
No problem.
And down in victory lane, we have our race winner, Grant Wesley. And Grant, I mean, Qualls alluded to the fact you had that Bobby Allison type scheme on there. You were driving like Bobby Allison. That car was bad fast. Talk about working your way up there with that second group and cutting your way through the top 4. Maybe we don't have Grant here. I thought we had him. See if we can get a word with him here.
You got me?
There we go. Now we've got him. All right. So I don't know if you heard the question that I asked there, but talk about you were running in that 5th position, leading that second group, had to reel in the top 4, and then when you got them, you were slicing and dicing your way through there.
Oh my God, that was pretty intense. Yeah, it was really good to have friends. There, the 5 of us, I think, Brian Schilling and Terry Bombard and Bob Simonera. Man, they were all pushing perfect. I mean, perfect tandem, and that's what you want. Um, and when we caught that lead draft, we all knew that we were going to catch them. We just didn't know what was going to happen when we got there. So, we still had 7 or 8 laps to go. So I knew we'd diced it up a couple times. I didn't know where I was going to end up, but it was definitely nice to at least catch that front pack.
Obviously at any super speedway, it's all about being in the right place at the right time. And that definitely was the case for you. I think maybe you had 4 or 5 feet, I guess, on the 4 car there, or I think actually it was on the 17 car when that caution came out. So obviously being just ahead of him, you were able to win this race under caution. But let's say the race hadn't finished under caution. You think you still would have had the car to get up there to the front and stay at the front in those final 2 laps?
I was definitely about to head backwards, without a question, because I think we lost some help behind me. So I knew I was going to go backwards. We still had a few laps, so I mean the race was far from over at that point. Going backwards at that point might have been presented a good opportunity to get back to the front, because a guy a lot of times that's out front on the last lap is sort of a sitting duck.
We saw pit road play a huge factor into this race, especially with that second round of green flag pit stops nearing about 15 or so laps to go. we saw a lot of drivers have some difficulty there, especially on entry. Was that attributed in the way that the track conditions were, or was it that everybody realized, okay, this is probably our final pit stop. I got to hit this just right, and I want to attack pit road as best I can?
Yeah, the way Rolling Thunder does their pit entry is they let the game throw the flags on that, so it allows us to quote unquote hot pit, and a guy that can hot pit really well versus a guy that's say doing 55 at the line, it's worth a second or two on exit of pit road. So yeah, that last pit stop was very important, and you're definitely on the edge of your seat, especially late in the race.
Well, obviously, Grant, a great way to start out your season here with a win at Talladega. Does this help give you any confidence going into the next Talladega races, or is there basically no strategy until the green flag flies each week?
Oh, there's always strategy. Unfortunately for me, next week I'll be a DNQ because the top three finishers have to start in the back. So my usual strategy of starting up front and finishing up front is kind of out the window. But yeah, it definitely this win's going to help me. It's going to lock me into the chase in this 15-week season.
Well, I mean,
Last five races.
I'm looking at your stats from last year and the last 4 races. Win, third, second. So you're definitely on a streak right now if you carry it over here into this season. But great run for you here today. You catch that caution at the right time. You take the first checker flag of the season. We're going to let you do some shout outs now.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you guys for doing the broadcast. I've been watching your guys' work, and it's second to none. Also, I'd like to thank the owners, Terry Bauman, David Cannon, and Sean Prime, for helping making all this possible. I'd like to thank we got a lot of generous people that stepped up and put some money forward, some sponsors. So I'd like to thank everyone that did that. And then I'd like to give a shout out to Brian Bell. He's been helping me a lot behind the scenes, and I think my mom and dad, I think they're watching. Give a shout out to them and everybody that watched the broadcast.
Well, that's Grant Wesley. He brings it home. P1 at Talladega Super Speedway. Congratulations. Go enjoy your win.
Thank you, guys.
And so that's going to conclude our coverage here tonight for the RTG Talladega Challenge at Talladega Super Speedway, the season opener. And no doubt about it, Qualls, it did not disappoint. And I think we definitely saw a lot of drivers realize, like Grant Wesley just said, it's the beginning of the season. It's an opportunity to get an early win and lock yourself into the chase.
Exactly. And Talladega never disappoints, I mean, let's be honest here. But I don't know what else to say about this race. I mean, like I said, we saw. I mean, like as we expected to see a crazy finish here. I mean, we was hoping to see a finish on the green. I mean, bummer didn't finish on the green. But you take what you get, obviously. But I mean, a win's a win, and excuse me, he and 88 team proved that today.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. We had battling for the lead. We almost had 3 wide, about 10 rows deep from the front row on back. We obviously had a lot of drama there with green flag pit stops. We had some wild wrecks, and of course it came down to a crazy wreck from the lead coming to 2 laps to go, and right place, right time for Grant Wesley. But there's 2 words that wrap that all up, and that is classic Talladega.
You ain't kidding. It's classic Talladega. That's what we live for,
Absolutely. So that is going to do it. Grant Wesley, your winner here tonight at Talladega. Hope everybody enjoyed that, tuned in to tonight's event. Qualls, I want to thank you for joining me in the booth here tonight. It was a pleasure having you.
Absolutely a pleasure. A pleasure as always, man. We look forward to the rest of the season.
Absolutely. We will be back to cover race 3 of the season on May 21st at 9:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to tune in for that. But for James Qualls, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in to tonight's event here for the RTG Talladega Challenge. Grant Wesley does the burnouts at Talladega in the season opener, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.